I'm about to lose my right to live in France forever. Let me tell you why my French residency is being revoked and why I'm doing nothing to stop it. I came to France with my brother and parents at the turn of the millennia over 25 years ago. I had one of those 10-year renewable residency cards. There's just one problem with it. You actually have to live in France for it to remain valid. And I haven't. Not for about 3 years now. And it wasn't some dramatic decision either. I didn't storm out like, that's it, I'm done with France. I just left for a bit. I started doing my own thing. Ended up building a life somewhere else. Somewhere I actually feel I belong. Now, I'll always be an outsider, a guest if you will, wherever I go. And I'm fine with that, because certain places treat their guests with kindness and respect. Other countries can feel somewhat hostile occasionally, whether that's through unreasonable visa application processes and delays, or in a slightly more direct way through its people and their behaviours towards you. We're going to get into that, but first I need to thank the sponsor of today's video for their ongoing support. This video is proudly sponsored by Incogni. In a world where data breaches are on the rise, like a few days ago when Booking.com announced that its customers' names and contact details have been exposed by hackers. In short, your personal information has never been so readily available online. I'm talking your name, email address, phone number, home address, even details like how many kids you've got. Anything about you can and will be bought, sold, traded by shady data brokers on the World Wide Web. Lucky for us though, Incogni has our back. Instead of you spending hours emailing shady data brokers one by one, Incogni does it all for you. They automatically reach out, request your data be removed, and keep chasing them until it's gone. And what I like is it's not just a one-time cleanup. Incogni is running in the background continuously, constantly checking for new sites that get your data and removing it again before it spreads. They've also got this custom removals feature, which is honestly one of the most useful parts. If there's a specific website that you want your info wiped from, you can just copy the link, paste it into Incogni, and they'll go after that too. And of course, I myself am a paying customer of Incogni, so I'm speaking from experience. Now for the best part, if you want to take your personal data back, you can get 60% off an annual plan simply by heading to incogni.com/lifeofryan. The link's in the description, or use code LIFEOFRYAN at checkout. Thanks Incogni for being awesome and sponsoring the video. And to prove this is the end of my French residency, here is my residency card. Or at least what's left of it. There we go. Yeah. This is actually just a quarter of the residency card because I don't know if you can tell, but I actually cut it up. Here we go, this is another part with my face on it. Wow. Sorry for holding it weird. I just need to hide the information that's on it as well. And yes, I did cut it up. And the reason why I cut it up is just in case it ends up being stolen somehow. It could probably be quite valuable in the wrong hands, I imagine. So I thought I'd be safe and cut it up. So there you go. There you go. No more residency for me. By now you must be asking yourself, why Ryan? Why? Why leave France? You've said it many times, it's a wonderful place. And yes, you're right, France in the summertime hits that sweet spot for many tourists and expats alike. But living in France, as nice as it may be, came with its own set of challenges, and in my case, deal breakers. Now there's more than one reason for leaving France, but in this video, I'll cover the main one. The biggest issue, of course, is immigration. For context, my wife and I are young, healthy professionals earning comfortably above the average French household. Now, we did consider calling France home, but the whole process for my wife to obtain a visa is smeared with delays, uncertainty, and what I deem to be bollocks. Pardon my French. Let me explain. During the application process, my wife and I would have to meet certain financial requirements. So far, so good. I would also need to show I have adequate housing in France for my wife and I to live together. This is where it gets a bit BS, in my opinion, because that means I would have to rent a place big enough for two and wait by the post box for a physical letter giving around a week or two's notice that an inspector will come to ensure the place is big enough and livable for both of us. The problem is, you could be waiting for that letter from 6 months to a year or even longer. The immigration lawyer that I spoke to couldn't give a precise time frame of when the inspection happens during the process. It's really up to the authorities. Now here is where I drew the line. I'm not going to play that game. I will never wait in limbo for a year or more away from the person I love just because I need to be by a post box to be able to live in a certain country. For me, that's not worth it. And I'm truly shocked that France doesn't make it easy for young professionals to live, earn and contribute to the country, which is in desperate need of more people in the workforce to help reduce the national deficit, which stands at record highs. Instead, we get the Minister of Justice going on French TV and suggesting a pause to legal migration for 2 to 3 years. That means no one that isn't already an EU citizen could relocate permanently to France during that time, apart from a few exceptions, he said, like students and scientists or something like that. Maybe you want to start a new life, open a business or simply retire in France. Well, if this suspension were to actually gain enough traction, the answer would be no. Whether you're from the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, the answer would still be no. No matter how much money you've got in the bank. Just to be clear, this isn't about people entering the country illegally and claiming asylum. That's its own separate thing. This is about people who come legally through the legal channels, who can afford to make the move to France, who are willing to jump through the hoops, those bureaucratic hoops, and want to contribute to French society. Now, it is possible that the Justice Minister only said this to gain favour in the eyes of right-leaning voters due to next year's presidential election, perhaps with no real intention of actually trying to pass this into law, although he did seem fairly serious about it on TV at the time. But the worst part of all, the part that truly made me realise, wow Ryan, it's a good thing you left this country, is the reaction from the French people themselves. In a poll by CBS, 67% of French people are in favour of suspending legal immigration for 2 to 3 years. That's over 2/3 of French that don't want any more foreigners, no matter where you're from, to come and live in their country legally. Imagine living in a country where 2 out of every 3 people you meet wish you weren't living among them. Wild times. And this is reflected in my own experience living in France for the best part of 2 decades. From the age of 5, I was called a sale rosbif before I could even understand what was being said. Rosbif, by the way, is a word used by the French to describe the English. One could argue that it's said in jest, but when it is preceded by the word sale, the context then becomes clear, and it's a term that no 5-year-old should hear, to be honest. By the age of 6, I did learn the language, acclimated to the culture, hell, I even started dreaming in French, but for some that simply wasn't enough, and they made sure to let me know I would never truly be considered an equal. Now, just a reminder, this is my own personal experience, and we are going back like 15 to 25 years while I was at school. So hopefully times are different now. But sadly, the result of that poll seems to indicate that nothing's changed. And the last time I was called a sale rosbif wasn't even that long ago. In fact, it was by a drunk young man less than 2 years ago who screamed it from the window of a moving car as he was driving away. And that's another worrying detail about this poll. 73% of 18 to 24 year olds are in favour of the immigration suspension for 2 to 3 years. That's almost 3/4, which tells us this is a sentiment shared across all ages of French society. Now, I don't want this to seem like I'm bashing France. That's definitely not my intention. But at the same time, I have to be honest with you as the viewer and with myself. If I'm not welcome somewhere, then what is the point? I've tried for years to showcase the beauty and the best of France, but I feel like I'm being disingenuous at this stage if I don't also highlight these critical issues that can potentially prevent you from moving to France altogether. And I wish I were making this up. I wish France was this utopia that some of you see it as, but my experience through the years has grounded me in reality. And like I said, even if this new law never comes into effect, the will of the French people has been brought to light, and if the French feel they would be better off without foreigners like me, then so be it. But here's the great news, residency or not, I can still visit France, enjoy what the country has to offer, for a little while at least, and then promptly return to where I call home. And I know many of you want to know precisely where I live now, how I live, and who I live with. But you've probably noticed I've become more and more private here on YouTube in recent years, and that's by design, because the more success I found on this platform, the more malice or envy seemed to come with it. And that's fine, it's simply part of being a content creator. I'm happy to get the attention, whether it's positive or negative, because either way, I get paid, which is nice. I did, however, feel the need to create some boundaries between real life and this whole YouTube adventure, for my own benefit, but mostly for the benefit of those around me. Ultimately though, I've never been happier. I've got very little stress, no debt, which is great. I feel like my life is one big adventure, and I wake up in the morning excited at where the day is gonna take me. And that about sums up my point right now in life. But there is one burning question. What's going on with the 15 grand house? Well, you'll have to stay tuned for the next video, I'm afraid, because there's a lot to discuss, okay? But don't forget, Incogni's offering 60% off an annual plan, links in description. Bye for now.